Hello everybody. In this particular video, I will discuss about retailing services or retailing of services basically. So there is the few difference between retailing of services and retailing services. Retailing services are services associated with retail, and retailing of services is basically we are selling the service itself. So there is small difference, but we'll come on that. So when we talk about type of services offered, there are three basic types of services that are offered in a retail setup. One is called basic services, one is called extended services, and another is above and beyond for futuristic services. What are the basic services that every retailer has to offer? Like employees to answer questions, nearby parking. Sometimes in Indian context, this parking is not applicable for probably US context or for other countries context where probably car is very common. Even nearby parking is a very important factor while talking about retail. And ease of shopping. These are some basic services that every retailer has to provide. Now, when we talk about extended services, like multiple payment options, so you can pay by cash or card or something, this comes under extended service, self-service checkout option, electronic coupons. These are some of the examples of extended. And what is above and beyond? Returns expected after expiration date, or free delivery, or empowered employees to take at then and there are certain calls which is not so much centralized and etc. These kind of services are above and beyond. And oftentimes we have seen that the extended services become basic after certain amount of usage, and even above and beyond becomes the extended. So these the basic, I would say the borderlines between these services are not very strong. Borderline keeps on changing. Then in the service, what are the fundamental decisions that a retailer should take? Some of the decision is that what customer services are expected and what customer services are augmented, how I can differentiate. As I told that the borderline is not very strong, then there is a very basic thing that you have to decide that which of these decisions I have to take and which of these decisions I can think or probably I will give to the most loyal customers. At what level which service has to be provided, that is also a different question. And then whether there should be choice, whether I will give a platter and then you have to choose, or whether I will be very restricted offers and I will give offers to everybody. So that those questions will come up. Whether services are free, like parking services or delivery services, whether we will make it free. Like for example, if we all know Amazon Prime delivery options are basically free for Prime customers, because if you are watching Prime Video and etc., it is free. But if you are not, then it is not free. So for certain kind of customers, you have to decide that for what kind of customers, what level of customers, I will give certain services as free and certain services will be provided by charge. And for certain customers, certain services are not even available. It's forget about free or not free. So those decisions has to be taken. How are customer services terminated? What can retailers measure that these things are actually benefiting? Whatever I am thinking is actually benefiting the customers. These decisions has to be taken. There are some typical customer services, for example, credit, delivery, alteration, wrapping, complaint handling, return handling, and some of them are a little bit probably ahead of basic, and it is becoming slowly basic, like trial purchase or gift certificate or sample sales. These are also becoming slowly basic services. So we have to think about that what kind of services can be provided. And when we talk about something extra, for example, interior designers, personal shoppers, parking, toilet outlets, toilet is basically. Ticket outlets are augmented. Now, beauty salons, fitting rooms, babysitting facilities, these are some of the other services which are also coming up. And depending on the size of the retailer, some services are expected also. So it is not like that if you are a small retailer, it's a more shop or a Nilgiri shop in Bangalore. That kind of shops are basically standalone shops, and there you will not expect a restroom or expect a babysitting facility, or sometimes you might expect the parking, but not a payphone or baby strollers. I don't know. But the same thing if it's a big retail store, like the size is big and the space, lots of products are available. In such kind of situations, you might expect some of them. some of this. So depending on the environment where you are in, depending on the size of the retailer, these values, whichever is expected and whichever is augmented, also changes. Now you can also turn around some kind of customer service from weak to strong. For example, you are seeing long checkout lines. What is the basic solution of a long checkout lines? Open up new stores or open up self checkout facilities, or ask them that, okay, I will deliver at your home. You can buy, you can just select, you can come to my shop and select the products, swipe the products which using an app, and then go home. I will deliver in 1 hour. That kind of facilities can be given. Insufficient payment options, you can come up with multiple payment options. It's as simple as that. Limited return policy, you can come up with enhanced exchange policy or research competitors returns policy. So you have to decide that what your competitions are doing and probably copy that. So different kind of strategies are there to actually deal with the weak customer service, and this becomes very important because service is one of the major. So as I told in the value chain, the end product gives you the value, but services also gives you the value a lot. So retailing services, that's why is a very major aspect of a retailer. Now I am talking about retailing of services, or service retailing basically. So service retailing is where you actually sell the service. For example, rented goods service, leased cars, hotel rooms, carpet cleaning equipment. When you rent it out, you are basically renting out means you are not selling it. You are renting out the access of this product. You are selling the access of this product. So that is actually a one kind of service which you are retailing. So that is service retailing. Then there are own goods services. For example, plumbing, appliance repair. But I'm not giving you any good. I own the good. I go and then use it to solve your problem. I don't give you any product which is like any kind of fittings and etc. Any kinds of tools. I don't give you. I don't also give you the person totally. I send a person who uses these tools to solve your problem. And then there are non-good services also. Non-good services are like haircut, professional services like physician, lawyer. This kind of services are also service retailing. For example, there are lots of right now lots of lawyer they ask-the-lawyer.com or ask-the-doctor.com. That kind of services like Practo is a doctor booking services as coming up, which is a service retailing. So these are various kinds of examples. Vakil search is a basically lawyer retailing services. So this kind of service retailing is also has become common in this current situation. So thank you very much. So certain other aspects like lessons in service retailing. There is what are the best practices? Some of the best practices I will talk about right now. The base decision of what the customer wants and expects from the customer, you have to know. Think and act in terms of customer experience, that becomes important. Continuously improve all parts of your service experience, and before do that you find out which is important, which is not important. So it is actually not so good to improve everything. It is better to identify that which aspects of your service experience that you are trying to provide customers actually value that, and what is not so valuable. And then you have to empower and train your employees also to take right calls. Sometimes you as a person who is sitting in the head office might not know what is the right call. So you have to train your employees and also empower employees so that they can avoid any kind of problems. And then there is another important factor is basically the service recovery part. If there is a service failure, you have to handle the service recovery well. Treat all your customers as if they were guests and get your managers to lead from the front and not from the top. So basically, this hierarchical structure is not good in service. It is very good in manufacturing procedures, but hierarchy is very bad in service. It has to be as flat as possible. So that is something that you have to try to bring in also in your retailing cases. Some examples of consumerism. For example, proper testing of items for safety issues. These are some of the examples where we try to think about the consumers, what we we try to do good for the consumers as a retailer. So proper testing of item, programming cash registers not to accept payment for recalled goods, charging fair prices for goods in short supply. For example, you cannot charge a lot if it is by chance currently in this pandemic situation. Let's say the mask is in short supply. If you start charging high for this mask, that will create a huge problem, and that is basically you are focusing on consumerism, which you should not do. Age labeling of toys, warning labels on goods beyond legal requirements. So these are some of the things that we as a consumer expect. So you have to follow this if you are believing in consumer-oriented marketing. For example, there is a Disabilities Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, that has come up, which says that if you have a retail store, you have to give access to the disabled people to this retail store in whatever way. So there is this kind of strollers that have come up in our country. We'll see that ramps are there, so that disabled people can also get access to your retail store and get because retailing is a business, okay, but any business is basically giving value to the society. So you have to give value to the society to get license to do business. So that kind of things are there. Some of the countries have very strict rules, some of the countries do not have so much strict rules, but at least as a retailer, you have to keep this in mind. So in this context, I would like to ask you one small question. So generally, we use in a retail queue, if you see, let's say you are standing in a checkout line, we use a first come, first service. Whoever comes first will get the service first, right? And sometimes what happens is, it actually happened with me that I bought one the packet of milk in the early morning. This retail store was close to my home, and milk was not there. And my son generally have a glass of milk with some biscuits and etc. before he goes to the preschool at that time. So the milk was not there at my home, and the retail store was exactly just below my house. So I quickly, in the early morning, I quickly went up. Yeah, it would be around 7:30, something like that. I quickly went up and went to this retail store. The retail store was vacant. Nobody was there. Some of the people were actually putting the products at here and there. It was an organized retail store. I will not name the company's name, but it was an organized retail store. So some few employees have come, let's say 5-6 employees have come. One is in the checkout counter and other people were doing something. So what I did is I quickly rushed to the milk center. Just then the milk arrived, early morning milk. So I just picked up 1 packet of milk or 2 packets of milk and quickly went to this checkout line. And there, when I reached this checkout line, I saw that there is another person standing there who probably has came before me and has a basket full of products. And he is, with this basket full of products, he is standing in the queue. And I have 2 packets of milk only. And my son is getting late and my wife is getting angry. And I have these 2 packets of milk in my hand. I'm standing behind of that person in the queue. So what I did is I asked this retail manager that, can you please do it for me? Because I have to go and I have only 2 products. So he's told that I have to follow the process. I cannot do that. And he is right by doing that. But he has to follow the process and he cannot do that. Now, on the other hand, I had to wait with this 2 packet of milk. I had to wait for 15 minutes because this guy bought a lot of products and then he was giving cash and there was no change and etc. in the early morning. So I had to wait for 15 minutes just to get this 2 packet of milk get picked, and then went to obviously my wife was very angry with me because of my carelessness. But then I thought that, see, there were so many people in the early morning who were sitting idle there. They could have opened the retail. There were multiple counters that were also there, but they were all closed. And this only person who was opening one counter, he was standing there. The other people were just moving around. In the early morning, nobody was there, so they were not working, they were moving around. I thought that this retailer should have empowered the the employees to make a call that if required, you can open up another. If they have not empowered, then I would say that this failure is attributed to the retailer. If he has already empowered, then I will attribute this failure towards these employees. So whatever be this case, I will think that this group of people, either these employees or the retailer itself, is actually responsible for this carelessness. He could have created an exception. So exception is something is better, is what that thought came into my mind. And I want to know, ask you that in what kind of situations you think that this first come first serve kind of strategy is not always good. In what kind of situations retailer has to create exceptions, and if they do not create exceptions, how the customers will react to that. So what I did is I wrote a paper on that using some data and etc. You can, if you want, you can read, but before you read this paper, try to think about situations where exception is something which is better. So with that, I will stop this video today, and I will come back with loyalty programs in the next video. Thank you very much for being with me. See you in the next video.